every Saturday and every day, Monday through Friday. I listen to WGMD, where you can hear the truth, whether you like it or not. Some of it might be a little bit bloviated, but then again, that's life. But I do enjoy face-to-face. You know, when there's systemic, you were talking the racism problem. They had, for a while, the big thing was systemic racism.
Yeah.
I drug my battle wagon over to Dover by Legislative Hall because right up the road they were having a Second Amendment rally. So I figured I'd be able to park with my battle wagon. When I got by Legislative Hall, I had plenty of parking space because there was nobody there. And then all of a sudden I heard all this noise coming across the green, and I turned around and looked, and there were hundreds of young people coming, undoubtedly from the University of Delaware. And they came up and surrounded me, and I stood there and talked to them. And one young lady stood up alongside of me, and she said, you're trying to say we don't have a systemic problem? I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm here to tell you we do have a systemic problem, but it's not racism. And she said, well, if it's not, what is it? I said, ignorance. I said, unfortunately, you folks are being denied the truth about this nation. And my mission is to go out and talk to you about the truth. We talked for a little while, and one young man whipped out his smartphone, and he said, there's no systemic racism. He said, look right here. Here it is, right here. The two-thirds compromise that's in the Constitution. Here, look, right here. I said, of course it's there. Don't you know why? He said, yes, because they don't think we're one person. We're not a full person. I said, that has nothing to do with the two-thirds compromise. And I went through a quick history thing and explained to them why there was the two-thirds compromise, because the founding fathers didn't want to lose the southern colonies, and they couldn't come right out and demonize slavery to try and keep some of them there. So they made a compromise. They said, you can't count all of them. And I explained to the young person, I said, because the representation, when they made the states, the representation, how many you could have at each state was based on the population. And if they counted all of their slaves, they would outnumber the northern side and be able to get whatever they wanted. And their thought process worked, because once they made the compromise, the amount of people taken into slavery started dropping.
Yep. I got to cut you off there, though, Grizzly. I'm out of time. I appreciate the call, and that's very interesting stuff. People really do need to look at history more. But thank you very much, Grizzly. I'm sorry I got to cut you off, my man.
That's all right. I just want to let you know I'm still alive, because there's a rumor out there that I'm not.
All right.
I'm here.
I'm glad to hear it. It's good. All right, and this is how we're going to end the show here. I promised you all this, so here it goes.
When Joe and I opened the border, flooding America with tens of millions of illegal aliens, we thought voters would think we were kind and generous.
You serious?
But it turns out Trump was right. They're not sending their best.
They're not sending their best.
Turns out that they are, in fact, bringing drugs, bringing crime, bringing their rapists, and apparently they're eating the cats.
Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
But when I'm president, things will be different. I'm like an abusive boyfriend who promises to stop beating up his girlfriend if she agrees to marry him. If you elect me president, I promise to stop destroying the country. I know I've been bad, but trust me, baby.
All right, I got to cut that there because I was a little late there. But yeah, go to Mr. Reagan on YouTube, and they got some really cool stuff there. All these commercials and stuff, they're pretty funny. That's the webpage is Mr. Reagan at YouTube. So I'm out of time. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks to all the new listeners that were listening. You're listening to WGMD 92.7, 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
Bombadita, 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 bombadita,
until
bombadita,
we meet
bombadita,
again.
bombadita,
Happy trails to you.
bombadita,
Keep smiling until then.
sunny weather.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
Paul Stevens, Fox News. The St. Johns River and Lake Monroe in Florida brace for rising waters in the aftermath of Helene and Milton. Reporter Esther Bauer, Fox 35 in Orlando.
All across Central Florida, streets and neighborhoods are underwater. Now, people are worried because this is what they dealt with during the last hurricanes. As the small creeks and rivers flush the floodwater out, that floodwater is pushed into the St. Johns River, causing the lakes within the St. Johns system to flood by the end of next week. Homeowners are doing what they can to save their homes. The city of Sanford is also trying to stop Lake Monroe from flooding the downtown Sanford Marina with 2 tiger dams. The city is putting them in on Palmetto Avenue between Commercial Street to the marina. They want emergency responders to be able to access the area and do not want businesses to shut down from flooding.
And that large-scale flooding should be slow to recede, and that could take weeks. Lawmakers under pressure to provide more money for disaster relief in the aftermath of Storm Helene.
The Small Business Disaster Loan Program needs a cash infusion. The flood insurance program is also in the red. FEMA has, quote, obligated $9 billion of the $20 billion Congress approved last month for immediate needs, but it only spent a fraction of that. Conservatives are willing to spend what's necessary, but they hope to reprogram other funds like money for the war in Ukraine. Congress usually burns $12 billion a year on disaster relief. The storms could eclipse that, and Congress could fork over more money than it spent on Hurricane Katrina in 2005.
Fox's Chad Pergram in D.C. Residents in states hit by Helene who had coverage through the federal flood insurance program but allowed it to lapse could be able to renew it and still recover from the impact. The new deadline for renewal, November 26th. America's listening to Fox News.
Another update from your local news source, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
Today is the last day that you can register to vote in the November 5th general election in Delaware. I'm Mary Lou in the newsroom for the Talk of Delmarva. If you register online, you have until 11:59 tonight. You can also register in person at the Department of Election offices in Georgetown, Dover, or Wilmington. Those offices will be open until 4:30 this afternoon. The Georgetown Department of Elections is located at 119 North Race Street, and the Dover Election Department is at 100 Enterprise Place, Suite 5. If you're in Maryland, you can register to vote during the early voting or on Election Day. Be sure to bring a document that proves your identity and where you live. You'll find more information at thetalkofdelmarva.com. A Dagsboro man has been arrested after a search warrant was executed at a residence on DuPont Boulevard in Dagsboro on Thursday. The search warrant was obtained after a 3-month-long investigation of 62-year-old John Rickards for a criminal nuisance property, as well as manufacturing and distributing illegal drugs. Police detained 9 people who were located on the property, including Rickards. Police found marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamines, and crack cocaine, as well as a stolen UTV and stolen power tools. 4 of the 9 were charged with misdemeanor offenses and warrants. The others were released. Rickards is charged with multiple offenses and is being held at SCI in default of a $59,000 cash bond. The 2024 Apple Scrapple Festival kicked off Friday evening. It continues today. You'll find crafters and vendors throughout the festival, as well as live entertainment all day, and also the Southern Delaware Street Rod Association car show. And afternoon highlights include the ladies' skillet toss, followed by the invitational Scrapple Sling. That's where local and state representatives compete for the coveted Scrapple Sling trophy. The fun ends at 9:30 tonight.
WGMD AccuWeather.
It'll be sunny through most of the day, breezy this afternoon, then mainly clear for the overnight hours, the low 52 to 59. For Sunday, partly sunny, breezy, and pleasant with a high of 79. For Monday, strong winds and a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 70. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
Explore the 5,000 square foot outdoor superstore right in Millsboro. Kelly's Outdoors is now selling new firearms. Kelly's is fully stocked for hunting season. Browse through a huge variety of new guns, massive amounts of ammo, durable hunting wear, and precision archery supplies. The team members at Kelly's are highly experienced hunters, ready to equip you with the right gear. Visit the locals' favorite outdoor superstore. Open every day at 8:30 a.m. east side of Millsboro on Route 24. Kelly's Outdoors, racks, fins, feathers. Mike Bradley and the WGMD morning team, honoring and working hard to follow in the footsteps of some of the best that came before on Delmarva Morning Radio, including Johnny Williams, Bob Smith, Bill Phillips, C.R. Hook, and Mike and Sandy. Mike and the team values the radio history here on the peninsula and is committed to continuing the great tradition here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
Good afternoon, Delmarva. This is Tipping the Scales of Justice with Julianne Murray. I am live this week, not in studio. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tipping the Scales of Justice, this is a weekly show on Saturdays between 12 and 2 that is hosted by yours truly. I am a Delaware attorney that gives up a couple of hours to take your legal questions. This is your opportunity to get the answer to that legal question that has been on your mind. Don't be shy if you have a question. I promise I won't bite, and I can almost guarantee that if you have a question, somebody else has that same question, so you're helping yourself and somebody else by calling in. What are those phone numbers? 302-945-9292 or 1-800-518-9292. You can also watch me live on IndustryNewsOnline.com. You can submit questions electronically at that site. For you regulars out there, you know that every time I do this show, we share something called disclaimers. These disclaimers are in everybody's best interest so that there's no confusion about how we do things here on the show. Here we go.
If you ask your question to Tipping the Scales of Justice, you are not establishing an attorney-client relationship. This show is designed to be a public service where general legal questions can be answered. You may be asked specific questions so that the attorneys can better answer your question, but that does not mean they have become your attorney. Please be mindful that we are trying to get as many callers as possible, so please limit yourself to one question per call. If the attorneys don't know an answer, they aren't going to fake their way through it. The attorneys are going to tell you if they are unsure, and they are going to find the answer. As professionals, they have reference materials available, but might have to find the answers off air and then provide the information later in the show. If you hear us say that we should talk off the air, take the hint that there is something either too specific or too juicy to tie up the airwaves. They will get your contact information off air and follow up at a later date.
Okay, let's get rolling. Phone numbers again, 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can go on to IndustryNewsOnline.com, see me, and also submit electronic questions. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Jeff, I'm calling from Lewis.
Hey, Jeff, how can I help you today?
How are you?
I'm very well.
Well, thank you for leading the Republican Party in Delaware. I pray we have a great outcome. Quick question. I noticed in Sussex Guide, and this is for my education purposes, it says, notice, I, John Doe, a man and one of the people of the state, an agent of legal person known as John Doe, will expressly use my God-given inherited rights and the rights protected by the state constitution, Delaware, and the U.S. Constitution and common laws of this land to pursue life, liberty, and happiness without interference infringement or to be deprived of and without harm, injury, or damage to my fellow man, woman, and property without just compensation. My legal person, John Doe, will be traveling, not driving in commerce, in, out, and throughout states in my privately owned vehicle. What would be the purpose of that, ma'am?
That's a great question, because I found myself, when you started at the beginning, I wondered if it was like a concealed carry notification. Absolutely not. I've not, and this is, you said it's in the guide, just published in the guide?
Yes. Yes, the Census Guide, October 9th.
Interesting. And it is just, I know you're saying John Doe instead of putting the name in. Is it just that one person?
Just that one person.
I mean, obviously they're giving notice for something, but I really do not know.
I didn't know if that was something to protect you from some kind of lawsuit or something. I don't know. It was very curious. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's not divorce. It's not an estate thing. I mean, there's some very specific wording there that one of my Constitution buffs, I'm sure, may weigh in on it, because the language definitely tracks with constitutional language. So I don't know whether it's a notice that somebody felt they needed to do. I really don't. I don't want to give a bad answer on that. So I say I don't BS. I'm not going to. I really don't know why they did that.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious, because I didn't know something could use myself at some time. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I really don't know. And thanks for the thanks on the Republican Party. It's I think we're getting there. I can tell you that I definitely see more cohesion than I've seen in a really long time. I mean, in terms of the regions, we're all we're working together, all communicating with each other, with the candidates. There's a buzz that is good. That is good for us. I just, today is the last day for people who have not registered to register. Everybody has to vote. I mean, it's just that you have no. I had dinner with somebody last night and said, "I'm going to hurt you if you don't vote." Now we're friends, and he knew I didn't really mean it, but I said it with just enough that he's like, she might really mess me up. So yeah,
I agree.
All right. Yeah, I'm curious about that, Jeff. I'm going to see what I can find out, but I don't know off the top of my head why somebody would that particular language. It's very particular.
Is there any way that if in your research, if I can be, apprised of what that was for?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to have you, if you would, take a picture of it and email it to me.
Okay, what's your email?
I'll do the easy one. It's jmurray@delawaregop.com.
J is initial J, Murray, Murray.
Right, at Delaware GOP. Yeah, DelawareGOP.com.
Okay.
Yeah, if you take a picture and send it to me, that I get the exact language, and what I find out, I'll write back to you. Okay.
Oh, super! I appreciate it. Thank you. You have a wonderful, blessed day.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day. Let's go to those phone lines.
Bye.
Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? All right. Hang on. I pulled the trigger too fast on that.
Joan.
Hey, Joan. What are you doing?
Hi, Julianne. I didn't call last week. I was a little under the weather. I had a problem with my leg and everything, but it seems to be mending. So I was thinking, Julianne's probably, where is Joan?
I got to tell you, it was funny. After the show, I don't remember what I was doing, but it honestly did occur to me. I was like, I didn't hear from Joan this week, So I'm glad you're hopefully on the mend, and
Thank you, Julianne. It kind of. I didn't want to go into because people they have enough problems. They want to hear my perils of Pauline, but Yeah, the leg swelled up. I don't know why. Oh, my God. Anyway, get back to my question of the week. I'm thinking about FEMA and that money being funneled to the illegal aliens. I've also heard rumors of particular people that are stopping food, et cetera, and help to get to the people. And other things I heard something about there's lithium in the soil up in North Carolina, down in North Carolina, and they want to bulldoze it. And this, if Donald Trump was in, this wouldn't be happening. And I'm so sick of the two of them, Kamala and Joe, wagging their finger at everybody. They'll be late to their own funerals. So have you heard anything about FEMA and what really is going on?
I have. I'll tell you what, because we're right at 12:15. Can you hang on for a minute?
Yes, I will.
All right, so hang on for me, and we'll answer that when we get back. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray. I am live this week. We are on the phone with Joan. I'm going to give the phone numbers out for anybody else who wants to call in. It's 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. Joan, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I've heard about all of this. And and I think that the truth is, I'm going to say somewhere in between. I do not think it's crazy conspiracy theories. I think that where it is in North Carolina, first of all, it's Trump country. It is. I was arguing with somebody last week about Asheville, and he said, "Well, Asheville is very, very blue." I was like, "No, it's not." Now, but even if Asheville were, all of the surrounding area around it is Trump country, and the very fact that we've got Kamala out there saying, "Let's not politicize this," when she's trying to call everybody who possibly can to get airtime to politicize it, tells you that it's politicized. I do think that there is some truth to. I mean, it is a rich in lithium or in minerals. It's North Carolina and Tennessee. But whatever the reasoning is, we have a problem. I mean, there is a crisis going on. I was talking to somebody last night, and he said, "Listen, people are going to die because they can't get their prescriptions. They can't get out to get help. Nobody's getting in." I'm so thankful to the organization. So like Samaritan's Purse, there's, some of the private organizations are getting in there. Thank God. And I know that it's going to get out. There are military, there are National Guard that are there sitting at an airfield going, "Come on, give me an order. Tell me what to do." And they're just not getting, they're not getting it. And it's just wrong. I mean, this should not be happening in the United States of America. And it certainly shouldn't be happening, this close to an election. And and if they are depriving these people of care because of their political affiliation, it speaks volumes. It's just not a good situation.
Yeah, and because of the voting and all of that, thank God Florida has Ron DeSantis. He's been a real blessing, and he's a real go-getter, so organized. And here we got Joe and Camilla. They're two of them like Tweedledee and Tweedledum,
I think that's a great description. And I laughed when Kamala in her Univision, which was so bad, what the pieces of it I saw, but when she was talking about, this is an opportunity to show leadership, I'm like, yep, and DeSantis showed it. You haven't done anything.
He sure did.
Yeah.
And you let her have it, too. I loved it, what he said.
Yep. Yeah, I did. So, but pray for the people of North Carolina and Tennessee.
I will. I do that every day, Julianne. You listen, you take care. You say hello to Patrick and everybody, and God bless you, America, and President Trump.
Thanks, Joan. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Take care. Let's go to those phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Julianne. This is Stephen from Milton. How are you this fine and glorious day?
It is a fine and glorious day. So what can I do for you, Stephen?
So, kind of question. Have you heard of the website voteblue.org?
No, but my guess, does it push to Act Blue?
Yes, it gives instructions for many states, including Delaware, on how to register and to vote and other stuff. With that, it came with another was brought to me by someone that said that when the illegals are coming in, the app that they are, they're given to register to come here.
Yep.
It said that with that app, they are considered citizens, and that they then can go and vote because of that. So, and that's connected to voteblue.org.
So there's an app that they are using, and you're saying that the access to that app, then I'm going to use the word, treats them as if they're citizens and that they're and are able to vote.
That's the way I've heard it. Yes.
Okay. I wonder. I mean, I have not heard that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I mean, I do know that the RNC has, and many of the state chairs have been very active about the whole non-citizen voting issue. In Arizona, there has been a heck of a lot of fighting going on there about non-citizens being able to vote. And something interesting actually happened this week. The attorney that was helping the Republican Party of Arizona up and quit on Monday, and there was a whole big kind of brouhaha around it. Nobody knows why, just no notice. Harmeet Dillon is now in Arizona, which is good. I mean, she is solid, and so. But the non-citizen vote is front and center. What is awful about it and is complicated about it is the difference between voting in federal elections and voting in state elections, which laws drive what's going on. But as soon as you said vote blue, it made me think of act blue, but I had not heard the connect about the access to the app when they come into the country, then makes that happen. I'll see what I can find out about it, but we have to be. They're going to try anything and everything they can.
It sounds like any one of them that come in is saying that they're here for asylum. Oh well, if then you're a citizen. If you're looking for asylum, then you're going to be a citizen. And there was something else about Joe Biden signing an executive order. Oh shoot! In regards to that, something to that effect.
Yeah,
and it just slipped my mind. Sorry, but anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. But I'll see what I can find out about it. I appreciate it, Stephen.
All right. All right. You have a great day. Thank you very much for what you do. We love you, and have a good one.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Okay, let's go back to those phone lines again. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? I can barely, all right. Sorry that I can't hear you. All I heard was a whole lot of like wind noise, and I didn't hear you. So try back, and let's see if we can get a connect on that. Unfortunately, if you are in your car, and have windows down, although it is a gorgeous day, it makes for a bad connection sometimes. So try me back, and if you don't get me in the next couple minutes, then we will go. I can catch you after the bottom of the hour. Let's see. Let's see if we got a connection here. While I'm waiting, let's see. I'm watching. So for those who don't know, I actually have a video display where I can see, in the studio where the phone calls are being answered, and it kind of gives me an idea. So let me see. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
James,
you're on
Ocean City.
Hey, James, you are on the air. What's going on?
All right. So the big problem with the illegals and stuff is Mayorkas runs the border, right? And he runs FEMA, too, and that's why it's been a big mess. But on the border, it's all Mayorkas. And when he was brought up on it and said, why are you doing such a horrible job and letting all these illegals in, the only thing he said was, my family are Holocaust survivors. So I don't know what that has to do with anything about letting illegals in our country, but enough's enough. They're coming through on that CBB1 app.
Yes, and I mean, and one of the things, I mean, here, this election has brought the border front and center. And I mean, Trump has been talking about it, but it's not just Trump. And what's interesting is people have a skewed perspective on it. They think that the immigrants who are already here are not, don't have a problem with illegal immigration, and they're wrong. I mean, the people who have migrated here properly and through the right channels are not in favor of this illegal immigration. But I mean, the biggest thing people talk about, election issues and what's the biggest issues, the two biggest issues for this election in 20 some days, the economy and the border. And there are great arguments as to which one is a bigger issue. I think a lot of people think that it is the economy because their dollars, because that's hitting them in the pocket and their dollars aren't going as far. But the reality is, border is a much bigger problem. But once those people get here, we're going to have a hard time getting rid of them. I know that there's a plan, but we got problems. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and but she listens very carefully, and she researches, and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
Please Google your local fire department and inquire about this wonderful opportunity. Please also send your financial support. Your help is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray. We're in our second half hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, yes, ma'am. This is Bill. This is Bill of Sussex County.
Hey, Bill. How are you? What can I do for you?
Yes, ma'am. What I was wondering is, I know you said that if you're voting and I vote by absentee ballot, that it's better, if possible, to take the ballot directly over and drop it in the office in person. But I guess my question is that the problem is I've got some health issues, so that's why sometimes it affects my walking and different things like that. And what I was wondering is that if I mail it in, which I did in the primary, I mailed it in. But if they don't get it within 3 or 4 days, what is the process or something like that? If it gets lost in the mail, that's what I'm basically concerned about. Do I have any recourse, or do I have to go all the way over to the election office, I guess, the Sussex County Board of Elections, I guess.
Okay.
There,
all right.
And,
So
and redo the ballot, or somehow invalidate the other ballot if it comes in, and then redo it, or something like that, or what is the situation? By the way, I put that anti-tamper tape on it, so it has a anti-tamper tape on it.
Okay. So in terms of mailing it versus delivering it, I mean, it's, if you have the ability to deliver it, then you take that variable out of the mail. But some people don't. Lots of people mail them. But you guessed correctly that if it is not delivered or not received there, and you can track it. I mean, so you can do it on ivote.de.gov, or you can call the Department of Elections to see if they've received your ballot. If they have not, then they're not going to send you a new one. Or at least I don't believe they're going to. I believe that you're going to have to go in, and then you could complete a ballot there at the Department of Elections and hand it to them. And then if your later ballot were to show up, I do not believe that it would be counted, because they would see that you've already registered a vote. But this is, I'm not besmirching the U.S. Postal Service, but we all know that stuff gets lost in the mail. But it is, it is what happens. I mean, some people just have to use it. They just don't have the, ability to go to the Department of Elections. But if you do mail it, so I'm curious, when you mailed yours for the primary, did you verify that it was received?
Yes, I did, and it was actually received. So yes. I called it, and I still prefer humans over machines, because of course there could be software errors or different things in the with software, be it human or software engineer errors or something like of that nature. So anyhow.
Yep. But the important thing in all of this is two things. One, you voted and you're going to vote. And two, that it sounds like you're doing it sufficiently early. So for those people out there who are going to request an absentee ballot, you can do it. You can actually do it till right before the election. Don't do that. I mean, if you know that you're not going to be able to go vote in person in early voting that starts October 25th and ends on November 3rd, or on election day, November 5th, request your ballot, get it done, get it in. And but don't wait until the very last minute.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bill. I very much appreciate the call. Have a great day. Take care. Good. All right, let's go back to those phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Julianne. This is Keith from Georgetown. How are you today?
I'm good, Keith. How can I help you?
Just giving you a call back. Jeff with the ad in the Sussex Guide information. I believe it could be, I'm not positive, but is it sovereign citizen? Is that, because I've seen that several times on YouTube and stuff, and they say something along those words that he just mentioned, so I don't know if that's it for sure, but that's my guesstimate.
I think you're right. It's, that sounds right. What I'm not sure is, and it's, and I'll tell you, I mean, Pat may text me at some point because he's listening, that, what the notice purpose is. I guess it's a declaration. It's basically saying I am declaring that I am a sovereign citizen, but I do not know that it is. I'm going to use the word effective from the standpoint of that you now are not subject to the laws of the state or the country or what have you. But those I will do a search on those words and appreciate. I think you may be right about that.
Yeah, there's also a tag on Amazon you can get for like $10 that says you're a sovereign citizen. So I don't know if that really technically is enforceable either. So
probably not, and may end up causing more troubles than you bargained for. But no, I appreciate that. I think you're right. And as I was listening to him, I'm like, the wording is definitely constitutional, and I just wasn't sure what the purpose was. But I think you're right. It is about being sovereign citizen. I appreciate that.
Right. Yep. You're very welcome, and you have a wonderful day, ma'am.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate that.
All right.
Let's keep rolling with those phone calls. I've got another caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Julian, this is Leo from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. I got two questions. I'm registered as an independent, so this may be a dumb question, but so I filled it out, took it over to Georgetown, dropped it off, everything good. Do both parties know that I already voted?
They should. So let me make sure I understand. When you say you registered as an hang on. You say you registered as an independent and you took it over, meaning you went ahead, you took your registration over, or you took your ballot. You've already voted.
I took my ballot over and I voted, dropped it off.
Okay. Yes, there is a master list that has everybody who has voted, that is accessible to both parties. So yes, they should know that you have voted at this point.
Okay. My second question is, what about all these people from Montgomery County, Maryland, have their second homes down here? What's the likelihood of them getting caught? If they vote down here, they go up Montgomery County, which doesn't care anyways, and they vote up there. What's the likelihood they get caught?
Well, in a statewide or a federal election, pretty high likelihood, because municipal elections and town elections, some of those codes actually allow them to vote, like on a local issue. But but you are a resident of a single state at a time, and there are databases, and I subscribe to one of them for the GOP that if people move from state to state, like they get flagged. So you cannot be for this purpose, so that you can't vote in two different states. So I do not think that is a high threat for us.
Okay. You answered my question. Listen, thanks a lot. You're very good. Bye-bye.
Take care. See you. Bye-bye. All right, let's keep on rolling. Got one more phone call, it looks like. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Joe, and I'm calling from Cape May. And matter of fact, real quick, you were in Wildwood when I was there. I was right behind Trump to his right, and you were in front. When he called your name, why didn't you make a cameo?
I don't. Well, no, that would have been fun for sure.
Sure.
When I got there.
Go ahead.
No, when I got there, I did have an assigned seat. So, and which was exciting. I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're actually going to call my name. But I started on one side and they moved me to the other. Actually, when he called my name, he looked to the right and I was over to the left because they moved me at the last minute. So, but yeah, it would have been awesome to actually get a camera.
It would have been nice to see the face. I always hear the voice, but it would have been nice to see the face. So,
Gotcha.
I know her. Anyhow. Well, I'll get back to where we're at here about these illegal harvesting and what they're doing and what Youngkin's doing in Virginia. And I just, you know what, Joanne, and I don't like to be the Grim Reaper of bad news, but they're voting. But I say this to you because you've been straightforward and You've always been at the top of the creme de la creme and the cream of the crop, and you've never had to do anything, say, a little underhanded.
Okay.
But the ballot harvesting, you know, and I know, and we're dumb, and I know you're not, but we know, and we know when we drive around what we see is going to vote. So let's if you can't beat them, you join them. You get a few thousand votes because they know by the polls just what they're doing right now. That's a fact because stats are for losers, and that's a fact, Jack. And you know what, Julianne, it's just going to happen again. We're gonna have this call. Hopefully not. Pray to God. I think God spared Trump twice.
Yep.
I believe in all that, but I just don't believe. When I think of Mayorkas, when I see him, and now you've been a lawyer. You've seen criminals. You've seen what he looks like. When I see him, I see penitentiary. That's what I see. He can look at you and lie you dead in the face. He's lying about. He's the one that came out 3 weeks ago and said, "Oh, we need money." All of a sudden, we need money now. Well, what happened to the money? There's people here getting homes.
Yeah,
those people are getting cars. And if you can't beat them, you got to join them.
I actually agree with you, and that's gonna. So here in Delaware, ballot harvesting legal. So you bet. I don't want to break the law, but I totally agree with you about if you can't beat them, join them. And and so as the party chair, I know that there are people that are ticked. Oh, and there go the dogs again. Sorry about that. That are ticked that I'm saying people should early vote. And I'm saying that because we're getting our butts kicked because the Democrats are better at early voting than we are. And we can keep standing back saying, "Oh, this is wrong and it shouldn't happen," but then we lose. So I agree with you about if you can't beat them, join them to the degree that we can do it legally. And do I think that there are illegals voting? Yes, I do. I don't know how pervasive it is. I know that each party chair is dealing with it differently in their states. I know what I'm doing in Delaware to make sure that it's Delawareans that are voting. But I would be naive to say, "Oh, there's no way they're not voting." The Democrats have gone the way that they've gone because they understand that they need the votes. And, I get it. I'm not naive about it.
Bless you, and keep up the good fight. And hey, listen, well, last caller just said something about the homes. We got the names. Just put the homes addresses on them. That's all we have to do. I'm just saying.
Yep.
I leave out
okay.
Wink. I'll see you.
There you go. All right. I appreciate it, Joe. Have a great day. Thank you. All right. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, "I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses." I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, "I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva." And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that station says. And that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, live. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit questions electronically. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Mark. I'm calling from Lewis.
Hey, Mark, how can I help you today?
Well, I don't know if you can answer this question, but I refinanced my house through the VA years ago, and my interest rate is like 2.3. And I spoke with a financial advisor, and she seems to think that if I sell my house and buy another house, I can carry that interest rate with me.
I'm not so sure about that. That would be a surprise. I mean, believe me. I mean, they have some really great VA programs, but they still follow kind of the prevailing interest rate as far as I know, which is lower than the posted rate. But I would be shocked that you could, because basically, so when you refied, and 2.3 obviously is great, that loan gets paid off, and you would go get a new one. I would be shocked if unless there's some loan program, like you signed something that guaranteed, I would be shocked.
Well, I went online to try and find more about it, and what I read, it kind of was telling me that I can gift my interest rate to the buyer.
That I believe is possible. Okay, because that's a different animal. Okay, so the and I think that only comes into play. I'm not positive, but if the new buyer were a veteran, for instance, I don't know. But so what we're talking about there is what's called assumability of a mortgage. And a lot of them are not assumable. Perhaps the loan program you are on is assumable, but what I understood the question when you came on was that if you sold and bought somewhere else, that you could take the 2.3 with you. I don't think that's possible, but whether you may be able to let somebody assume where you are at the 2.3, but when you go buy somewhere else, I don't think you get that 2.3 again, unless rates happen to be there.
Right. Who should I take this question to? Real estate agents?
No, I would say, so when you got the loan, who did you go through to do the refi?
I went through PennyMac.
I would contact PennyMac.
Okay. Good.
Yep, and
Okay, perfect.
yep. And the assumability, I believe, is possible. The taking it with you, the transportability, maybe. But I mean, God knows, again, veterans deserve it for sure. But I have not, I've not heard that you could, pay one off and be able to just take that same number somewhere else.
Be pretty cool if I could.
Yeah, it would. I'll tell you what, do me a favor. If you find out that you can call, obviously not today, but call back and let us know because, I mean, we have a lot of veterans. Yeah, we have a lot of veterans that listen to this show. And if that transportability, and when I'm in the next break, I'm going to take a look and see if I can find anything. And I think the magic word is it's not assumability, it's transportability. I'm going to see what I can find. Okay.
It would be a game changer.
Oh, heck yeah. And well deserved.
I'll call PennyMac and I'll get back with what I find out.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, see ya. Okay, I have a digital question here from Eric in Seaford, and it says, "Hi, Julianne. Great job you're doing for us downstaters. My question is, after you go through the inspection lane and you get your paperwork saying you passed, can you take that to the mobile DMV trailer that travels around to get your registration and sticker?" I think you can, Eric. So for those who don't know, there is a mobile DMV, and I actually pulled it up, and it says that the staff working in the 45-foot trailer can process most of the same transactions as those working in our brick and mortar locations, with some exceptions. Customers who need to take a road exam or need an inspection, driver improvement, or uninsured motorist services have to go to the primary locations. But it also says that Inside Associates assist customers from 4 fully operational stations. Okay, so I think that you could, once you've got the inspection, so obviously you can't get the inspection done at the mobile location, but to me, this reads that once you've got that inspection lane approval, you've got that you passed, I think you probably could. The other thing for those who don't know, because the last time I had to do it, I was pleasantly surprised, is when you pass the inspection and you come through the inspection lane and go around the back of the DMV in Georgetown, there's a drive-up window. Now, I realize it's busy. There's a lot of people there, but you do not, once you pass inspection, have to go park your car and then go into the DMV. There is a drive-up window where they can take care of everything right there. But from what I'm reading here, I think once you've got everything that you need from a paperwork standpoint, you could go to one of those fully mobile DMV, or the mobile DMV. The other thing is, Eric, and for anybody else, I just haven't had a chance because I'm sitting here talking to you, is as soon as I went to Delaware.gov to the Division of Motor Vehicles, it says at the bottom, "I am Della, your personal DMV chatbot. How can I help you today?" So you may be able to ask the question so that you don't waste the time going to the mobile DMV, but I'm betting that you would be able to do that. Really appreciate the question. Okay, so we got a couple minutes. Phone number until the top of the hour. Phone numbers again, 302-945-9292 and 800-518-9292. I had a digital question from somebody named RJ in Federalsburg who wanted to ask me something offline. So I will email you about what your concern was. I don't know that I can help you because you're in Federalsburg and that is Maryland. And the practice area is not my bailiwick, but I will get you. I'll see what I can find out about helping you with that. Okay. In terms of, we've had questions about illegal voters. Do I have a call, or do you want me to? I'm trying to see if I've got a caller. I do. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Ian from Georgetown. I just wanted to tag on to the DMV question. If you really want to do it fast, the kiosk inside now, if you just need regular registration, like after an inspection, you go to the kiosk and not even deal with an agent, and you're right at the kiosk.
No, and I thank you for doing that. I had to not renew my license, but I actually had to replace my license. When I was in Milwaukee, apparently I came back to Delaware without my driver's license. Oops. And the kiosk is great. I mean, like it is. I mean, so yeah, if you don't want to wait at the window and you want to just go around, you're right. You go in immediately to the right, and those kiosks. You can do registrations, you can do licenses. It is super cool. It was
I was really
right
surprised
after.
that you can do registration with your sticker printed right there at the kiosk. That was awesome. So.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize you could do the registration, so I appreciate that phone call very much. That's great.
Yep. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. And the other thing that I'll tell you is after the computer blip that happened on the 19th, where air travel, everything was, crowdsourced and there was all sorts of problems, the DMV, the kiosks were actually down because it was part of the problem because I needed to get my license. So thanks. We're 1 hour down. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
Delaware. This is WGMD Radio, giving you news 24 hours a day, local updates, the talk of Delmarva. WGMD.
Problems in Florida. CJ Papa, Fox News. Plenty of fuel, but no power at gas stations, leading to long lines.
The fuel is an issue when you have power out at gas stations. You can't pump fuel.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis earlier in Plant City explaining the solution for drivers.
This fuel depot here is one of the 3 sites that opened this morning. Plant City here, Bradenton 280K Road, and then St. Pete, 800 First Avenue South in St. Pete. We're in the process of doing more.
Meanwhile, the St. Johns River and Lake Monroe in Florida brace for rising waters. Fox 35 Orlando's Esther Bauer has more.
All across central Florida, streets and neighborhoods are underwater. Now, people are worried because this is what they dealt with during the last hurricanes. As the small creeks and rivers flush the floodwater out, that floodwater is pushed into the St. Johns River, causing the lakes within the St. Johns system to flood by the end of next week. Homeowners are doing what they can to save their homes. The city of Sanford is also trying to stop Lake Monroe from flooding the downtown Sanford Marina with 2 tiger dams. The city is putting them in on Palmetto Avenue between Commercial Street to the marina. They want emergency responders to be able to access the area and do not want businesses to shut down from flooding.
And the large-scale flooding will be very slow to recede. Elena, devastated communities in the southeast, lawmakers must now find more cash for disaster relief in the aftermath of Helene.
FEMA has, quote, obligated $9 billion of the $20 billion Congress approved last month for immediate needs, but it only spent a fraction of that. Conservatives are willing to spend what's necessary, but they hope to reprogram other funds like money for the war in Ukraine. Congress usually burns $12 billion a year on disaster relief. The storms could eclipse that.
Fox's Chad program, America's listening to Fox News.
Source 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
The Delaware Judiciary mourns the passing of retired Delaware Supreme Court Justice James T. Vaughn Jr. on Thursday. I'm Mary Lou in the newsroom for the talk of Delmarva. Justice Vaughn retired less than 2 years ago after over 25 years of service on the Delaware bench, nearly 10 in the Delaware Supreme Court. He was 75. You'll find more at thetalkofdelmarva.com. Milford City Manager Mark Whitfield has announced that he will retire on May 1st of next year. Whitfield's contract expires on April 30th. He has served the town of Milford as town manager since 2020, before that serving as the Milford Director of Public Works from 2016 to 2019 and interim city manager from January of 2020 to April of 2020 when he became the city manager. Earlier this year, Whitfield was recognized by the Delaware League of Local Governments as the State of Delaware City Manager of the Year. The Milford City Council will discuss the recruitment process for a new city manager later this month. Groundbreaking was held Thursday afternoon for the Salisbury Regional Airport's runway expansion program. This groundbreaking is the culmination of 7 years of planning by Wicomico County and its partners. The runway extension will enable the airport to accommodate larger aircraft, expand its commercial and freight services, and enhance its role as a driver of economic growth for the the region. The extension from the current 6,400 feet to 7,800 feet will also position the Salisbury Regional Airport as a leading aviation hub on the eastern shore. The runway expansion project received over $18.5 million from the FAA's Airport Improvement Program, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and congressionally directed spending with help from Maryland U.S. Senators Chris Van Hollen and Ben Cardin. The Apple Scrapple Festival continues today in Bridgeville with plenty of crafters and vendors set up, along with live entertainment, a car show, and more. This afternoon, it is the ladies' skillet toss, followed by the invitational Scrapple Sling. The fun ends at 9:30 tonight.
WGMD AccuWeather.
It'll be sunny through most of the day, breezy this afternoon, and then mainly clear for the overnight, the low 52 to 59. For Sunday, partly sunny, breezy, pleasant, the high of 79. Monday, we'll see some strong winds with intervals of clouds and sun and a high of 70. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
Reverse mortgage facts. Turn your home's value into cash. Proceeds are tax-free. Never have to make a monthly mortgage payment. Retain ownership of your home. Use reverse mortgage to pay off current mortgages and pay for other financial expenses. Still leave the home to your heirs, and you must be at least 62 years of age. Call Jim Fritz of All-American Mortgage, serving Delaware and Maryland. To find out more, receive a personalized proposal. Call Jim 302-245-2327.
Attention Talk of Delmarva listeners. The WGMD app has been updated and is ready for you to download. Simply visit the Apple Store or Google Play and search WGMD and download the file to update your smart device. The updated app will allow you to listen to 92.7 or 98.5 through your smart device, streaming audio. Another service from the many platforms of the Talk of Delmarva.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, live, not in studio, but live. We had a great first hour, lots of calls. Let's keep those calls coming. 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also submit digital questions online at industrynewsonline.com. Mark and Lewis, the refinance of the VA loan, I looked it up. It is absolutely assumable. Every lender's different. But VA loans are assumable by your new purchaser. So that 2.3 you can offer if you go to sell. Two things though to keep in mind about it. The first, and they do not have to be a veteran. So it is assumable by somebody who is not a veteran. However, the person assuming the loan has to pay a funding fee of 0.5% of the loan balance. That fee goes directly to the VA and helps keep the loan program running for future generations of military buyers. Veterans who would typically be exempt from the funding fee are also exempt from this assumption fee. So if it's a veteran that is buying, assuming it, they're not going to have to pay that funding fee. And the other thing is to keep in mind for anybody is that they're assuming the balance of what is left. You have to deal with the equity that you have in the property. So what happens, say for instance, you have $100,000 of equity in the property, the buyer has to come up with that $100,000 in order to make you whole. So while it's fantastic, and you absolutely, as a seller with a VA loan, have the good thing of being able to offer that 2.3%. There's a couple of things that nuances to it for the person who's going to assume it, that they have to have some cash in order potentially in order to make you whole. But that while we're talking about that, and while I'm waiting for calls, let's talk a little bit about real estate settlements and refinancing, and the difference between what is called a title company state and an attorney state, and title insurance and title locked. All a whole lot of title there that all have different meanings. In Delaware, an attorney is required to preside over a real estate settlement. And a real estate settlement is not just a buy and sell. It is also a refinance. Okay, so you have to, and this comes down to basically making sure if there is money involved in it, an attorney is going to be presiding over it. That is not the same as potentially what's called a deed only. Like if you are deeding a property for no consideration, you're adding somebody to it, you're taking somebody off or doing something like that. You're not required to use an attorney for that. Is it advisable? Probably, just because all of the words in a deed have a meaning, and and if you are not up on what the meaning of those words are, it can be bad. But when we talk about other states, like I know Maryland, I believe Pennsylvania also, it does not have to be an attorney. It can be what's called a settlement officer, which is at a title company like Capital Title or something like that. There, they can preside over the settlement. It's not required that it be an attorney. And so the difference is, I mean, lawyer, no lawyer. But when we talk about title insurance, okay, that is insurance that is, if you have a lender, is required. You can get what's called lender's title insurance or owner's title insurance. They can be what's called simultaneously issued. It's something that is paid one time at settlement. And what it is designed to do is if there were any claim against your ownership. So this search is done of all of the previous owners. And when the search is done, there is what's called a title commitment, which says, yep, the person who is selling this to you actually owns it. They're able to do this. The records aren't perfect. There can be something that is not recorded properly. It's not indexed properly. And it would be horrific for you. You own the house, you're paying the mortgage payments on it, and somebody comes and knocks on your door and says, yeah, the person who owned this 2 people ago didn't have the authority to really sell it, and I am challenging your ownership. Title insurance pays to fix that. Okay, so I know that there are people who think, okay, yeah, it's not, I don't want to do that. It's a waste of money. And you are not required to get what's called owner's title insurance. But for a lender's going to require you to, because they have what's called a security interest in your property. You have pledged that property as repayment. If they find out that you don't own it anymore, or then you can say, hey, I'm not going to make these payments anymore, that's a problem for them. And so they will require it. That's all different than the title lock stuff that is being advertised, which is a notification and in some cases a fix-it if your property is fraudulently transferred. Okay, so how does that happen? Deeds are now available online. So a fraudster can go online, can pull a deed, they can see who you got it from. They can make up a false deed and say, that looks real, that refers to the transaction when you got it. So it's like you are transferring it to somebody else, and they record it. And they, basically they get a mortgage. There's all sorts of things that can happen. I know that people worry about it, but the thing to remember in Delaware is 2 things. One, I think all 3 counties now have what's called a notification service. So you can be notified if there is anything recorded against your tax map and parcel number. That's good. It gets you kind of in front. If you find out that a deed has been recorded that you did not sign, you can do something about that quickly. Yeah. The other thing is that we have what's called transfer tax. And so if it's what's called an arm's length transaction, which basically means it's not between people who know each other, it's for consideration, the proper amount, all of that stuff, there's going to be what's called 4% transfer tax. Used to be 3. They raised it about, now it's been 6 or 7 years ago, saying that it was temporary. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. It should be rolled back to 3%, but it's 4%, and it's split between the buyer and seller. So we get you when you're coming to Delaware, and we get you when you're leaving Delaware. But that transfer tax, when a deed is being recorded, the recorder of deeds is looking for that transfer tax. There are exemptions to it, but if you don't qualify for one of those exemptions, then transfer tax is expected, and if it's not paid, they won't record the deed. So that is a form of protection for keeping the fraud out of the mix, because it's most of the time the transfer tax is expected, and so that keeps kind of that fraud at bay. But when we're talking about, real estate transactions, and I mean, there's, whether or not, it is, who does the lawyer represent and all of that stuff. Under Delaware law, a buyer, the lawyer who is handling the settlement represents the buyer. Okay, they have to send out a letter or otherwise notify you. Some do it by email that says, if I'm handling a settlement, I represent the buyer. The seller is not required to have their own attorney. The attorney that is handling the settlement has to take care of the seller in terms of has to pay off their mortgage, has to prepare the deed for them to sign, and take care of what I'm going to call, quote unquote, both sides of the transaction. But for some people, they're uncomfortable with the idea that the lawyer is, quote unquote, representing both sides. I totally get that. And they bring their own lawyer to the table for the seller side. That is absolutely okay. You can pay for that and make sure that you are being that each have their own representation. But understand that if you don't get your own lawyer, that does not mean that you're out in the wings and not taken care of. The lawyer who is presiding over the settlement and representing the buyer has to go through a whole process with the money end of things. They have to contact your lender. If you have a payoff, get a current payoff, make that payoff, and do all of those things. Even if you do not, quote, hire them, they have to take care of that. That's part of the process. So there's our 13 minutes of real estate school for everybody. For those who have followed me for years, I used to do these all the time, the schools every week. So let's get some phone calls rolling. I'm going to step away. I'm going to give the phone numbers and we'll come back and then hopefully have some phone calls. 302-945-9292. or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit questions electronically. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD. and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales with Justice. Julianne Murray live. I see that my call for calls worked. That's great. Let's go to those phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? You are on air. Caller, what's your name?
Yes, this is Cal from Houston.
Cal, how can I help you?
Yes, well, I've got partially a statement, question, and a whole bunch of stuff. You're telecommuting from home, correct?
Yes.
Why in the world is our state passing laws, as I just saw the other day? Now, as it is on telemedicine, you can call from home and make a doctor's appointment, and they can prescribe medicine for you over the phone. But starting January, in order to do that, you have to go to a medical building or to a doctor's office to telecommute or to telemedicine.
Oh, you know more than I do at this point. I had not seen that most recent bill, so that kind of defeats the point of telemedicine, doesn't it?
Completely, and it's contrary to what the direction that everything's going in nowadays.
Yeah, and actually, so I'm actually not in the state right now. So when I said home, I mean it's I
understand. So yeah. you would not be able to call your doctor and with a video phone call and give them your information and let them see you and prescribe anything. It's just.
So this is new. I mean, you say
that way.
This was just, you said this was just recently signed?
It said, I don't know. It said that starting in January.
All right, I will look it up.
Will be into effect, and I didn't know anything more than that of it.
I will look it up. I had not heard that, but that there's all sorts of things that that happen. But I had not. But yeah, if that is true, and I'm not saying it's not, that completely defeats the point of telemedicine.
It does.
You have to go to a building.
It really does.
Gotcha. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
All right.
Keep doing a good job you're doing.
All right. Thank you, Cal. I appreciate that. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? Caller, you're on the air. What's your name?
Is it I?
It is you. What is your name?
All righty. I thought I was third in row and only one had gone. I'm calling about my parents had a trust, and I was the first trustee. I have two siblings, and I kept the house as part of my distribution of the assets. And I did contract with the trust firm to assist, and I have asked them to put the deed for the house into my name. And it's been extremely slow, as with everything that I've dealt with this firm. And the last contact I had, I said, is there some reason why you're not doing this? And Is it financially better for me to keep it in the trust as opposed to have it be put in my name? And she said she talked to their lawyers about it. I do not have any children, so when I pass away, if it stayed in the trust, it would go to my siblings or their children. But I guess my question is it better to keep it in the trust financially, or better for me to get it deeded into my name?
It depends. So so when you say that your parents had, was it a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust?
It was a revocable trust.
Okay.
But my understanding is once they pass away, it becomes irrevocable. Is
that's
true
correct?
Or not?
Nope, that is correct. And then in the trust, however the distribution happened, the house was to come to you. Other stuff could be parsed out, but basically at the end of the day, house is yours, as part of the distribution. I just want to make sure I've got the right playing field.
Well, yes, in that I just made it that way. I was in charge of distributing the assets and had everything appraised, and sold one house and distributed the funds equally with the appraisal of this house as part of the distribution.
Got it. Okay. So the answer is, in terms of why it depends. If you leave it in the name of the trust, you are, it sounds like the successor trustee, so you're in charge. Yes. Is there another successor trustee named after you if you were unable or unwilling?
It's one sibling followed by another sibling. Yes.
Okay. So if you leave it in the name of the trust, trust is the owner of it. First of all, the trust will not get any break on property tax that you as a human being might. The break for the school tax once you reach the age of 65 and have lived here long enough and all of that stuff. A trust never gets that break. But with the trust being the owner, if you, I'm going to use the word, lost your marbles, were unable or unwilling to be the successor trustee, now a sibling is the trustee, and the sibling is now has the control to buy or sell that house. If it's in your name, so individually, if you took it out of the trust and put it to your name individually, you control what's going on no matter what happens. But if you do not have children, do not have, natural beneficiaries, if you put it into your name only, it would be advisable to create a trust for yourself so that probate is not triggered. So it's kind of weighing what's going on there. With it being in trust, it's not going to be subject to probate if it stays where it is, or if you put it into another one. But you only control it because you're the successor trustee. And so if something were to happen and a sibling were to take over, I'm not saying they would do something wrong, but you no longer have the control.
Right. And I've been asking to have it put in, deeded into my name, and it just isn't getting done. And I didn't know whether they were trying to quietly look out for me or they just weren't.
Let me ask you this. Okay.
Quickly.
So the trust, you said it was, so when we talk about trust administration, is it a financial house or is it a law firm that you have asked to redeed it? Okay. And is it a Delaware
law firm that my parents used to create the trust?
Okay. Here in Delaware?
No, in Virginia.
Okay. So that may be part of the problem, is that a Virginia law firm would be hesitant to do a Delaware deed. So you could have a Delaware attorney do it. That's not required that it be the Virginia law firm, but my guess is that that's the hiccup. That they don't want to and I would do the same thing. If it were a Delaware deed our Delaware trust with a Virginia property, I would tell my client, you need to find a Virginia attorney to take care of that deed because I'm not licensed in Virginia. My guess is that's the hiccup, and they just haven't. You know, they're either
they're just not telling me that.
yeah. I think that's.
Okay.
I mean, but yeah, I think that's probably the issue.
So it's not financially better to keep it in the trust.
From a tax standpoint, no. From a probate standpoint, yes. So yeah, there's different animals, but from my,
It
from
depends on
my,
how I deal with it once it's deeded to me.
that
Whether
is
I
correct.
put it in a new trust or
That is
just
correct.
as part of
Exactly.
a will. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem, Grace. Not a problem at all. And I think
All
your
right.
name was Grace. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. So for it's a couple of different things there when you start talking about. Grace was what is called the successor trustee, which is the manager. Trustee is a manager, and the responsible for taking care of the property of the trust. So if the parents said everything gets split between my children in equal shares, equal shares can have part of it can be property, part of it can be money. So we'll talk more about that. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that Laura's she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and all about, but she listens very carefully and she researches and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
www.operationseasbidet.org.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live. We are in our last half hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also do questions online, industrynewsonline.com, and submit questions electronically. I have one here from Mary Lou in Lincoln, Delaware. I don't like the idea of early voting, but you and many other conservative leaders are recommending it. Could you please explain the advantage of early voting in general? Thank you. Thank you for asking the question. I get it. A lot of people don't like the idea of early voting, but I'm going to give you some food for thought on it. Number one is that with early voting, it is in person. So a lot of people don't understand that we have what's called absentee voting, which is a paper ballot. You request it online or in person at the Department of Elections. You have a paper ballot. You fill it out. You can either mail it back to the Department of Elections or drop it off at the Department of Elections. That's absentee, but is a form of early voting. And then we have what is called in-person early voting that starts October 25th and goes till the Sunday before Election Day, which is November 3rd. They have hours from 11 to 7 some of the days and 7 to 7 in the latter half of it. I think the first few days are 11 to 7 and then it gears up and does 12 hours. But you're voting, you check in with the poll books just like you do on Election Day, and you vote at a machine like you do on Election Day. Why are we encouraging it? There's a couple of reasons. One is it gets it out of the way. So waiting until Election Day, things happen on Election Day, and it can be you have no bad intent. It's just, so things can happen in your life. For instance, we are principled people. You are on your way to go vote and something happens. Your child, your grandchild is sick and you've got to get home. You got to go pick them up from daycare. You're going to go do that because your child is your priority. Okay. It's not, no shame, but sometimes you might just miss getting to the polls. The other is that there are things that can happen at the polling place. So even during the primary, we had the Millville, I think it was, fire department opened a little bit late. There was already a line. People had been waiting in line, couldn't get into the polling place on time, left because they had to go to work. Don't know whether they got back. We had polling places in Kent County that did not have power strips. I know that that's hard to believe, but it was true. And in 22, we had polling places, 15 of them in Newcastle County, that ran out of ballots. Okay. So, if you vote early, then, that you have, lodged that vote and you are avoiding something happening on Election Day. I have seen, there was recently a terror plot that was foiled, an Afghani that had an Election Day terror attack planned. I've heard, rumblings that, election day, I mean, everybody in the world knows how important this election is. And, so we do not know. I'm certainly not asking for trouble, but we just don't know what's going to be happening. So, the nice thing about the early voting is you can do it at your convenience. There are less lines. You can vote on the weekend. So Pat and I went in this last one on the primary. We went on the Sunday before. It was easy. You get in, you vote, you get out. The other reason that early voting, that many of us are pushing for it, is because it helps the candidates. And no, I'm not talking about early counting, because that does not happen. Those are not tallied. The machine cards are secured. So when you vote on those machines, they print a card. Those are secured, and they are not counted until election day. That's how that happens. But it's registered in a report that you voted. So I know that many of you have gotten, all of us are getting text messages out the wazoo right now from the Trump team and all sorts of different candidates. I actually get the Democrat ones and the Republican ones. And I, the updates that happen when you vote help the candidates where they're spending their money. So we get text message, so you will not, in theory, get the text messages, the phone calls, the things that happen as we get closer to election day. Like I know in the GOP, we've already started. We've done text messages to registered Republicans and independents, letting everybody know that today is the deadline. The RNC sent those out, which was great. Saved us, that they were willing to do that. That was great. But we're going after low propensity voters. We're sending text messages. We're going to be doing voicemails. We're doing mailers. If you vote early, that we are getting updated lists, you're not going to get targeted on any of that stuff, and so you're not going to be getting those phone calls. And so for campaign dollars, this is it's a help to the candidate of your choice, that they're not going to have to spend money trying to get you to go vote. So those are all reasons, and and I understand the hesitation from the standpoint of Republicans tend to vote on election day and don't like the idea of doing it early. But there was somebody who called earlier who said, if we can't beat them, join them. There is some truth to that, and I can tell you that when we did the special election for Valerie Jones Giltner last December, we outvoted the Democrats in early voting. That, like, we went into election day with a lead. Okay, that's what we're going for here. Let's build that momentum. So if I haven't convinced you, that's okay. Just as long as you vote, that's what I need. But I very much appreciate the question. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, my name is Bob from Lewis.
Hey, Bob.
How you doing? What I'd like to know is, many years ago, when me and my wife first got married, we made a will. And in the will, we said, any kids that we have should split everything we have evenly down the middle. Now, we had kids, and they're older, and we're older, and friends of ours said, we should not do the will, we should make a trust.
Okay.
But I don't know anything about it. That bird of mine. And I don't know anything about it. I don't know, should we do a trust? Should we do another will? I don't know.
Okay, great question. And all right, so you've got a bird, I've got dogs. It's all good. We are pet people, and the dogs have actually been good. And from what I understand, you on the air, you can't hear our dogs barking, but I hear your bird. So what's the bird's name, just so I know?
Doc.
Got it. Okay.
D-O-C.
So, love it. Okay, so in terms of the fact that you have an old will that says everything goes to our kids in equal shares, it's valid. That is, even though you don't name your kids, you don't know how many kids you were going to have, all of that. If you say it goes to our issue, the magic word is issue or children in equal shares, it's valid. Now, why people talk about trusts is that how many kids do you have?
2.
All right, so you have 2 children. If I were drafting a will for you, I would encourage you to do what is called a direction to sell, which says sell the house. One of them can buy it if they want to, but sell the house and split the money between the 2 kids. Because under Delaware law, they become, if you don't put the direction to sell, they just become co-owners of it. And they have to agree on what's supposed to happen. And if they don't agree, it's a pain. And like what frequently happens is one wants to sell it, one wants to rent it. One moves in and says, I'm taking my 50% ownership by living here 100% of the time, and it is a problem for the other owner. With a direction to sell, there is a probate fee. It's 1.25%, which is of the value of the house. Okay? With a trust, the probate fee is avoided. There is no creditor claim period like there is with an estate. So even if your kids weren't going to fight, you're not worried about the direction to sell. If there are medical bills, for instance, you don't have them now, but something happens before you die where there are medical bills that have to be paid, the house is going to get sold to pay those medical bills. Okay. If you have a trust, the trust owns the property, so there are no medical bills that are against the trust.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a 2-minute answer. But the important thing is you have a will, which is good. And what I do when I meet with a client, I've had clients who come in and say, I want a trust, and I'm like, why? Tell me why. And I've talked them out of it. I mean, because every situation is different. If you only have 1 kid, I don't know that you need a trust. I mean, there's all sorts of variables that can make a difference. But
right.
But it is, the biggest reason that people do trusts is it is easier on your executor after you die because there's no probate process that you have to go through the paperwork at the Register of Wills and do all, which, by the way, the Register of Wills office is great, but still, it's a process. It's an 8 to 12 month process. If you, can avoid that, if you have a trust, you can avoid that. And it is makes things easier on any or both of your children if they were going to be the executor.
Okay, and you do wills, right? That's what you do.
I do. Yep. Okay, absolutely.
So what I'll do is I'll look you up, and I'll make an appointment to come in, and we'll sit down with this.
I appreciate it.
In the beginning, they don't want nothing. And then as time goes on, this one wants this, this one wants that. I said, first you tell us you don't want anything, now you just want everything.
100%. And it's, I tell my clients all the time, I say, look, you don't think your kids are going to fight over something. It's going to be something that, that you don't expect. So let's take the guesswork out of it. But no, Bob, I'm happy to help you. My assistant's name is Pam. And not me, or it can be somebody else, but probably worth doing a consult, but it is not mandatory to do a trust. Any lawyer should talk that through with you, and so that you can make an informed decision about it. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Bob. Have a great day. I know I've got a couple other callers. You got to hang on for me because it's that magical 3/4 of an hour where I have to step away for a second. So you are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, Assistant Manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, we got about 9.5 minutes to go. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Pat from Harrington.
Hey, Pat, how can I help you today?
Well, I just want to make a couple comments, but I'm glad to hear that you're a dog fan because we got a couple and we got Invisible Fence, and they have about 3.5 acres to run on. But with the early voting, I'm in favor of it because I've already made up my decision unless there's some big surprise between now and November. And being able to pop into one of the early polling places, I mean, they're not crowded, and you can go and do your voting, and it's like going to the fire hall and doing it. So, what's the difference?
Well, I've come around. I mean, I definitely was not in favor of it. And it's, but I've thought about it. And I also, I mean, part of this changed for me when I became a party chair. And, I was at the RNC and we were talking about early voting, and it was the discussion about things happening that at the time it was called Bank Your Vote. And things get that vote banked so that if something happens, that it's already taken care of. And there was a group of us that were just sitting around talking, and I said, I think how we have to make this pitch is, bring it from the fact that we're principled people. Voting is very important, but there are things, our family, our faith, there are things that are higher on a spectrum sometimes than voting. Even though voting is so important, and the biggest example I can give, like I said, is if something happens to a family member, they go to the hospital, you're going there. That's where your priority would be. And it's not that voting isn't important to you, but if something happened to your spouse, you would go there. So why not just go ahead, get it taken care of, and then all of the mystery's gone. It's you've taken care of your civic responsibility, and and it's helpful for the candidates too. So I've definitely come around on it. And I can't tell you how cool it was to realize in that special election back in December that we outvoted the Democrats in the early voting. They outvoted us in absentee. We outvoted them in the early voting and actually made up the difference in the absentee so that we went into Election Day with a lead. That was huge. And so we were caught off behind. We weren't ready in 22 when early voting came into being. I was a candidate and didn't know anything about it. The party was not prepared in 22, and I lost the AG race over early voting. That was the difference in the election. So we're now much more vocal about it, and the more that we can have people talking about it and saying, "Yep, it was easy, loved it," blah blah blah, is a good thing.
Well, you also lost the governor race because the way they did that mail-in voting before you were nominated.
Yep. You are correct. So I lost because of vote by mail in 2020, and a lot of people do not know that, absentee ballots are available 60 days before the election. And I did not win the primary until about 44 days before the election. So yes, that was certainly part of it, but also just, 2020 was a mess. But doing what I can from the party chair standpoint, and we've just got to get people to show up and vote, no matter what. I don't care whether it's absentee, early, or on election day. Get your buns to the polling place or get your vote cast. That's got to happen.
Very good.
All right, Pat, I got one more phone call. I appreciate the call very much. And yes, I'm a dog. We have 4 dogs, and we are dog parents. Love my dogs. So, all right. Okay. Thanks much for the call. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name?
Am I on the air?
You are on the air. What's your name?
I'm Fred from Lewis. I wanted to find out what's going on with the magazine restrictions here in Delaware.
It's still in court, and the wheels of justice, and I use that term loosely, move incredibly slow. I will find out from Jeff Haag from DSSA. I'll get an update from him. The last that I heard, so it's in federal court. And there was a lot that happened with a preliminary injunction that went up to the appellate level and came back down. But it was delayed because there was a third party that another gun group that came in and intervened, which actually ended up slowing some stuff down. But it has not been heard on the merits as far as I know. I know there hadn't been a decision on it, but the magazine case, the quote unquote assault weapon, I use that term with a whole lot of question marks around it and quotation marks because we know that there's no such thing. Both are being challenged legally.
Okay, unfortunately, the phone line your engineer passed me through. I've got your program running at 2 different intervals on here. It's hard for me to hear you over the phone. Right now, I'm listening to the middle of your response to me. Could you answer this one question? Is the 17-round restriction being currently enforced in Delaware?
Yes.
Did you say yes?
I said yes.
All right. You've answered my question. I thank you very much. You have a good...
All right. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate it. Okay, I've only got a couple minutes. I have a digital, it's more of a digital comment. So it's from Chantel in Australia. Yes, Australia. Said, hey, Julianne, nice flowers in the background. Thank you for noticing, Chantel. Last night, I watched some news on the telly here in Australia. It was disturbing to see Kamala Harris cracking a coldie with the host on national TV. It's scary to think she's running for president. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I guess it's good that we only have a minute and a half left. It's Kamala trying to be cool. It goes back to, Bill Clinton playing saxophone on Arsenio Hall, and half of the listening audience has no idea what I'm talking about. The other half totally knows what I'm talking about. First of all, I mean, it didn't work. She's going to have a cold beer with Stephen Colbert. I think that's the show it was on. Yeah, she took a sip, and I don't think what she was trying to go for didn't work. But she is absolutely not qualified to be the president of the United States, and I am doing everything I can to make sure that she's not elected. I think that she's trying to reinvent herself and appeal to different groups, and in that particular case, she's trying to hit a younger demographic. And the reason she's doing that is because President Trump has actually increased his popularity in that demographic. And it's because 18 to 29-year-olds are realizing that their futures are at risk because of inflation, because of the uncontrollable spending, because of the situation at our border where people are, coming in unvetted. We have terrorists, lots and lots and lots of terrorists in this country that are here to do us harm. And I think that people are starting to wake up. But, whatever she's, trying to do when she does her fake accents and, talks about her working class parents and all of that, it's ineffective. But, not a fan. But interesting. I'd love to hear what Australia thinks is going on. So thanks, everybody. This is Julianne Murray. It's been Tipping the Scales of Justice, 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
WGMD Rehoboth Beach.